Welcome back to Digging Deep, the podcast where we offer bereavement bites for time-pressed professionals and where we explore the trends, challenges, and stories that are shaping the future of the death care profession in Canada. I'm your host, Heather Kiteley. I'm the president and CEO of GFD and second-generation funeral director. Today we are recording live from the Funeral Services Association of Canada's 2025 Summit and Exhibitor Showcase in the beautiful Halifax, Nova Scotia. This is an amazing gathering of death care professionals who are united in their mission to provide care and compassion to communities across our wonderful country. Today we are joined by a special guest who brings a unique perspective from both sides of the country. After years of working in Ontario, he's now the proud owner of a funeral home in Nova Scotia, and he's here to share what he's learned about the differences in funeral trends, consumer preferences, business practices, and some of the differences between the two provinces and the unique and wonderful business that he has here in Nova Scotia. So before we jump in, if you're enjoying the Digging Deep podcast, please make sure to follow, like, or leave us a comment and share this episode with someone in your life who might find it valuable. Your support helps us to keep bringing these important conversations to the forefront. So sitting with me today is Patrick Curry. Hey, Patrick.
Hey, how are you?
I am great, thank you. We're
Good.
So glad to have you here.
I'm honored to be invited.
That's wonderful. Let me tell everyone who you are.
Please do.
So Patrick is the president of CL Curry Funeral Services Ltd, born and raised in Antigonish, Nova Scotia. Patrick is a fourth generation funeral director. High five on the fourth generation.
Bam.
Awesome. Having been a licensed funeral director and bomber since 2002.
2002.
Oh, thought sooner. That's an interesting thing we're going to talk about.
Okay.
Among other esteemed positions he has held, he is the outgoing president of the Funeral Service Association of Nova Scotia. Welcome here, Patrick.
Thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. Okay. Can we start just by you sharing your story, right? So you started in Ontario, you're in Nova Scotia, you weren't licensed since 2002. Help us all.
Yeah,
put that
so I
together.
didn't start in Ontario, I guess.
Okay.
So I became licensed in Ontario, but so my father and his brother, Chuck was my father, and Frank is his brother.
I heard a lot about Chuck.
Yeah, so
here.
he was very active in national associations and local associations, all that sort of stuff. But he, I was never groomed for this position or anything like that.
So he wasn't like, you weren't at the knee saying, you must do this when you grow up.
Nope.
So it was the same with my dad. He has freedom.
Yeah,
Right?
so he just basically, I remember him asking me once when I was probably 15, 14, something like that,
Yeah.
do you have any interest in funeral service? And I said, no.
Absolutely not. Right?
He never asked again. Because like in Nova Scotia in those days, a lot of the funeral homes owned ambulance services as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and so the ambulance guys were a lot cooler. They're driving ambulances, there's lights, there's sirens, they're wearing uniforms. It's neat, right? So I never even really paid attention to the funeral aspect of it at all. But then, so I went to the local university. So St. FX University is in Antigonish. And I was going through university, but I was kind of running out of steam, you know, and
What were you taking?
I was taking business.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Solid place.
Yeah. But not with any notion of bringing that to the funeral home, because I still had no notion at all that I would ever be in this business. And so anyways, I was going through school, and then when I came back, it was my third year, and after Christmas, mentally I just checked out. I stopped going to class, and you know, and it was all group work, and I wasn't a part of any group, and it was, and I'm like, there's no way I can salvage this year, and so I decided that I was going to drop out and then go back in September.
Right.
So I would just get a job until then, and that sort of thing. As it turned out, Dad needed someone to help him at the office, and it was February in Antigonish, and there's no other jobs to do. So I just said yes. And so I ended up helping, obviously, in an unlicensed capacity, but I took to it, and I enjoyed it. And
were you surprised?
Was I surprised? You know what? I
like, was there a moment when you're doing that, and then you're like, oh, I'm actually pretty good at this.
You know what it was? I'll tell you what the hook was. Because I didn't really know what to expect. And so
Which is interesting, isn't it? Like you grow up in the business and
all I knew as a kid
yeah.
is that there was one room that you are not allowed to go into in the funeral home, you know? So there was like this, the original funeral home was a converted old Victorian style house, right? You know? And so there was, you know, the desk where the receptionist was, and then there was a long narrow hallway which seemed to have a room on the left of it, and Patrick, do not go down that hallway. Okay.
Gosh,
and I was such a good boy. I listened.
My childhood, yes.
Yeah. And so I didn't really have any real concept of what happened at the office. And so the first visitation that we had when I started with Dad, you know, I wasn't very hands-on in any of that. Like I didn't really do much except for push the vacuum around, right?
Sure.
But, you know, they had, I remember it was a gentleman, and he was set up in the visitation room. And then the family came in, and Dad showed them into the room and then stepped back. And he stood beside me, and I was outside the coffee lounge. And he didn't say anything to me. And I just kind of stood there beside him, and I had no idea what to expect. I think I was expecting like hysterics. You know, someone's dead. Oh my God, it's going to be like bawling tears and inconsolable people and all that kind of stuff. But then the guy's wife came out, walked right up to Dad, and said, "Oh my God, Chuck, he looks so good. Thank you so much." And my mind just went,
wow.
I was like, holy crap. That was not what I was expecting. And it was such a moment, and it just stuck with me. And I'm not saying like in that moment I knew this is what I wanted to do.
But clearly,
when I look
how
back,
long ago was that, right?
That would have been in 1996.
So fresh in your mind.
Yeah, so like 30 years ago, you know. But I remember it. I don't remember the individual's name. I don't remember her name. But I remember that moment.
And was it like the impact of, because I remember there's a few key things I remember as a child, like where I understood the impact that my dad was having on other people that was like profound, right? And was it that for you in that moment?
Very much so, yeah. Like, and looking back, you know, that's such a neat thing that you can do. Like, that is amazing. I would like to be able to do that, you know, and in those moments when I can, it's just the best. It's such an amazing moment, you know, to be able to do something like that for someone. That you can't describe what that is, to be able to support someone in that way, right? And to just, there's no words really spoken. It's just an intrinsic understanding of like the power that is in that moment. That it's like an intimacy, right? Amazing. Okay, so you go from that, you have that moment. Right. So then I was helping Dad out. I did go back to school. I did eventually graduate. Yes.
You went back, got your university?
So the X ring that I'm wearing is the school ring from St. of X. It says 96, which was when I was supposed to graduate. It ended up being 97 because of the time off and that sort of thing.
What's a year?
But I keep the 96 on there. I could have gotten it changed to 97, but I keep it 96 to remind me that you gotta, just because they give you the ring doesn't mean they give you the degree. And you just,
I love that.
You know, but it's, I ended up doing staying with Dad, taking another job, that sort of thing. But I ended up going to the school, which at the time was in person in 1999.
So you went to Humber in
No,
Ontario?
I went to King's Tech in Nova Scotia. Yeah. So 99 and 2000, I was at King's Tech and learned a lot. But I knew that I wanted a different experience. I didn't want to just do what Dad told me. Yeah. You know, I wanted to get other perspectives and that kind of thing.
I get that.
And Dad was good friends with Lauren Kelly.
Oh,
Kelly Funeral Homes.
Yeah.
Gosh, and I had friends in the Ottawa area and that sort of thing. So I said, I think, you know, maybe I could do that. And so put some feelers out. I got in contact with one of the managers there, Pete Valley at the time. Yeah. And so we, and I had met John Laframboise as well at a convention. Yeah. At one of our conventions.
Yeah. Amazing.
And so anyways, long and short of it is, I did go to Ontario to do my apprenticeship. It was more complicated than simply just going there and being an apprentice because of interprovincial issues and that kind of thing. But we got it done. And what originally was going to be 1 year ended up being 5 years. So I did my apprenticeship and I got my license, but I stayed and I learned so much. Like, it was the best
You
move.
would have learned so much from Lauren Kelly.
Yeah.
What an experience.
It was great. And then the team he had there. And so, I learned a lot, and I, had colleagues, but they've become such good friends as well. So now I've got this, unit of friends, of people that
network
from there too. So it's amazing.
And now you work with your mom and your sister.
Yeah. So
what's that like?
It's okay. First of all, take the dramatic pause out. Overall, it's great. It's overall, it's fantastic.
In case they're listening.
But in all honesty, we work really, really well as a team. Like, there's not a lot of folks, I shouldn't say that. I know that there are a lot of folks that I couldn't work with my
It can be challenging, right?
And it is, in that, as much as you want to separate personal from business, we're humans. It just doesn't happen. So 50 years of preconceived notions come into the workplace. And so sometimes that's more stressful than others.
Yes.
But at the same time, sometimes it makes it that much better because they know me and I know them.
Yeah.
And so I can give them as much support as they need or as much distance as they need.
Yeah.
So it's, but like I said, overall net positive. Like, it's pretty neat. And it was with Dad too. So when I moved back, Dad was still there too. Mm-hmm. And, it's a great feeling to work with your family and be a great team.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's so wonderful. Yeah.
Wow, that is amazing. What a great story.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's talk a little bit now about Atlantic Canada. Mm-hmm. And you have a breadth of experience in Nova Scotia, of course. You've been on the Funeral Services Association board. Talk to me a little bit about some changes to the business that you're seeing here, or perhaps just in your own community.
Sure. Antigonish is, well, actually, they call it the Little Vatican.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's very Catholic.
Yes.
Or at least it was, right?
Yeah, it started to change.
Yeah, it had been very Catholic. So, the generation above me were, very much church going. Mm-hmm. Your Sunday obligation. You go to church. Yeah. And, my generation, markedly less so. Yeah. And so there is, the older part of the boomers, and the generation before that, I guess, everything was very traditional.
Prescriptive almost, wouldn't you say?
It was,
especially with the Catholic Church, it's fairly prescriptive.
Yeah, and so, certainly before my time, like, making funeral arrangements went like that.
My dad used to tell me it would be like less than an hour.
Oh, yeah, because you would just come in and you would talk, okay, so...
what casket do you want?
Basically, and they would like, Dad and Frank would say, it wasn't, when do you want the visitation? It'll be, the visitation will be here. Yes. The funeral will be here, and it just rolled. And basically, what kind of casket do you want?
Isn't it like ironic a little bit? Like, if we think about society is like wanting things to be more simple. Mm-hmm. And yet we have made funeral service, I think like society in a way, in terms of wanting different options and things like that, in the endeavor to have it more simple, is actually more complicated than it's ever been.
Oh, very much so. Yeah. And there's a...
especially cremation, if you want. A simple cremation is like an oxymoron.
Those are the ones that... the arrangements.
Because there's so many choices and there's so many options.
Yep.
Anyway,
but there's a concept called the paradox of choice. The paradox of choice is, and there's a great TED talk on it, but basically it's, we think that having all of these choices is a path towards freedom and an ultimate satisfaction. But what it's really doing is complicating our lives, complicating our decision-making processes, making the decision more stressful because now there is a cost benefit. Did I make the right choice, wrong choice, right choice, wrong choice?
That's so true.
And so at the end of that process, you are not more satisfied, you are less satisfied. And so, of course, some people would push back on that and whatever. So wherever other
And
people
it's not
land
like
on
we're
that.
saying we don't think that choice is a really wonderful thing. It's the how do
Exactly.
you help people navigate the choice so that you don't get caught in that paradox of
No.
like almost like
Yeah.
like frozen, right? I don't know
Yeah.
what analysis paralysis. I don't know what decision to make because there's just too many, right?
Yeah.
And so you see that here, right? Like having to well, I saw that when I was working frontline funeral service, having to sit with families for hours to help them
Mhm.
navigate that complexity. It's super
It
overwhelming.
is, you know, and it can be overwhelming for people because, you know, they are obviously grieving.
Yeah.
You know, they're going through a lot of like really difficult emotions.
Even
And then
if they're
you're-
planning ahead, it's
Yeah.
still emotional, right? I
very
mean,
much so.
most definitely better to do that at that time.
Yeah.
But you're still, I mean, you're thinking about your own death. It's
Yeah.
not easy.
You know, and you know, I worked in like after I left Kelly's at Ottawa, I was at I managed 2 small funeral homes in Winchester and Chesterville, which is about halfway between Cornwall and Ottawa.
Yes, I know where it is.
Okay, and so there we had all of these different types of guest books that people could
Yeah. Yes.
could
Yeah.
you know choose from after they chose their casket, and then which guest book do you want, and that sort of thing. And I always remembered when we got to that point, they'd just be like, I don't know, river, pond, river, you know, like
I don't want one.
and it's just like, it doesn't really matter, does it? It doesn't matter. So like we have one guest book. It's the guest book.
Yeah.
It's part of
It's
everything.
like one little thing you can do to make it simpler for
Yeah,
people.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what people may not know that they want it. But I'll tell you something right now. Like I've been back since 2008, and there's maybe been 3 people been like, oh, is there like a different guest book? And you say no, and guess what? They're fine. Like they don't care.
And that narrative supports the research that we've done,
Yeah.
right? That complexity is just really overwhelming for people.
Mhm.
So we are just about at the end of the podcast
Okay.
already.
I talk so much.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. I just find like I get immersed in these conversations and I feel like we could talk. I mean, I can talk funeral service forever, right? So I want to wrap up with a question that hopefully makes you think a little bit. And I'm
Okay.
curious as to, because I'm now that I've known you for a couple of days, I think you'll give us a really interesting answer here.
Okay.
What do people misunderstand the most about you as a funeral professional?
I would have to say that there is a lack of understanding about what goes into what I do. Because when people see me performing my job,
Mm-hmm.
I'm, you know, wearing a suit, looking calm.
Mhm.
When
Rule
I'm-
number 1, doesn't matter what's happening, you just look calm.
Absolutely. Honestly, you look calm, you put a warm smile on your face, and people are just like, okay, Patrick's got this under control.
Yes.
And
Doesn't
up-
matter.
and up in
Chaos
the- up
is
in
going
the head.
on. Right?
Oh man, it's like Fiona blowing through there. But it's,
People aren't showing up.
Yeah.
and things are falling apart.
right.
It's fine.
Yeah, all good.
Anyway, go
Yeah.
ahead.
But the, what, you know, because, and I consciously, you know, try to carry myself with a sense of ease, because when you carry yourself with ease, it puts other people at ease.
And those people need that.
And that's exactly
because
what they're
there's
looking
so
for.
much
That's exactly what they're looking
that
for.
they're carrying,
Yeah.
right?
And so I think sometimes people, and not everybody, you know, like obviously I get a lot of like, wow, I don't know how you do your job and that kind of thing. But I also think that people can sort of default to, Patrick looks like he has everything under control all the time. And so it's a smooth operation, which is not the case. You know, it's stressful, and it's a lot of hurry up and wait. And it's, you know, you kind of wonder how you can pull all these things together. And, you know, thankfully they all get pulled together, but it looks smooth and serene. The one I get all the time is, you know, if there doesn't happen to be a visitation going on and someone walks into the funeral home and, boy, it's quiet here. It is not quiet here. I can assure you, there is tons going on. But
So if anyone is listening that is not a funeral director, who maybe is going into a funeral home or sees a funeral director somewhere, just be kind. Because even though sometimes you look like you're really truly carrying the weight of so much, right?
There's a lot to it. Yeah.
There's so much to it.
Yeah.
I want to close with one of the things that you talked about that you bring to arrangements, because I think that that's a really wonderful thing, a really wonderful philosophy that you bring to your arrangements that I'd love our listeners to hear.
Sure.
We were talking about how important it is to bring humor in a way to the arrangements.
Well, certainly you have to put people at ease. That's when someone comes in, like especially if they've never done a funeral arrangement before, they have no idea what to expect.
Yeah.
They have no idea how it's going to go, what to do, what they should have thought of before they came in. Of course, you prep them sometimes. We're going to need the social insurance number and blah 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 blah. But
who are they going to meet? They don't know who you're going to meet with, right? Is it like the big
not,
scary undertaker? Or
yeah.
Is it somebody nice?
Yeah, and I mean,
it's
luckily,
always somebody nice.
Not always somebody nice. Yeah. But if you're yourself, a respectful version of yourself, a dignified version of yourself, but yourself, you're not being, firm and stiff with these people, but just warm and engaging, your conversation becomes more natural. And as the conversation becomes more natural, you start sharing comments which lead to laughter, and it really sets folks at ease. Yeah. And it's
what was the expression that you used?
So there's a saying, and I wish I could remember who said it, but if you have people laughing, you have them listening.
I love that.
And then you can tell them anything. Mm-hmm. And it's true.
And they're going to hear you.
And they're going to hear you because they're engaged. The flip side of that is that if you're doing some sort of rehearsed shtick, you're going to turn them off.
It has to come from a place of authenticity of who
absolutely.
you are.
Authenticity is the word. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what all people want. Like if you're not a funny person by nature, don't try to be funny. But be authentic. Be yourself, because that's what they're going to gravitate towards.
One of my early mentors always said that to me. She says, don't try to be something else, right? Especially when I was starting out as an apprentice. She's like, just be the best polished version of you. Yeah. Because you are enough, right, to bring to the equation. So
yeah. And when I was with Kelly's, I would get little tidbits of advice, and I was able to pluck little things from this director and from that director that I could fold into what I do. Yeah. But I was never trying to be him. I was never trying to be her. It's, you have to be yourself.
Good advice. If you're just starting out, if you're listening and you're just starting out, best advice you can have. Yeah, wonderful. What a wonderful place for us to end our podcast. So thank you so much for joining us, Patrick, on the Digging Deep podcast. Huge thank you to you for sharing your incredible insights. It's clear that while funeral service is rooted in universal values like compassion, dignity, and care, there's regional differences in what we do, and how we serve and how we bring ourselves to that equation can impact our communities in ways that there are not words for, right? I wish I could find that word for what that feels like when you're in that moment and and the family knows that you've just helped them in a way that nobody else could. I wish there's a word for that. If you come up with one,
I'll let you know.
Let me know.
Yeah.
If you found today's discussion valuable, please be sure to follow, leave a comment, and share Digging Deep with your colleagues or somebody in your life that you feel might benefit from this conversation. Your support helps us to continue to bring important conversations like this to the profession. Until next time, I'm Heather Kiteley. Keep on digging deep.